Stand, Kneel, Now What, Season 2, Episode 16, How My Family Became an Artificial Food Dye-Free Family. Hi, my name is Karen. I like to say that I'm the good kind of Karen. I am first and foremost a daughter of God, a wife, mom of two, and I recently came home to the Catholic Church. I love my faith so deeply that I want others to love it too. Whether you are a cradle Catholic, Catholic curious, or you have come home to the Catholic Church as an adult like I have, Stand, Kneel, Now What is the show for you. Through my love and lots of blunders, my goal is to help you along your faith journey. Our paths may be different, but all of our roads need to lead home so that we can be with our Father. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Stand, Kneel, Now What? I'm your host, Karen Estep, and today's podcast topic is very near and dear to my heart because my eldest child has an artificial food dye allergy. So we are going to get into how my husband and I discovered it, ways that are kind of tricky for us to navigate, where to look for artificial food dyes if you are trying to eliminate those from your diet, and also where to shop or where the easiest for me to shop is. But let's start with our prayer. Today's prayer is called My Life is an Instant, and it is from Saint Therese of Lisieux. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. My life is an instant, a fleeting hour. My life is a moment which swiftly escapes me. Oh my God, you know that on earth I have only today to love you. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I love Saint Therese of Lisieux. She was an example of how to live our lives in a very holy way by doing very little things that add up to something more. So if you don't know anything about Saint Therese of Lisieux, please go look her up. She's phenomenal. Okay. Today's topic, I want to preface before we get into all of this information that I don't know a lot about chemistry. I did not take chemistry in high school or college because it involves math and science, which are two subjects that were not my easiest subjects in any capacity. So I never took chemistry. However, I am going to talk about some things that I researched. I do not have the sources right at my hands. However, just like everybody else in the world, do a Google search, do a deep dive, try to find really good sources. Firsthand sources are really amazing. Look into the science behind what red food dye or any artificial food coloring can do. Second, my oldest just received an official diagnosis of ADHD. My husband and I have known for a very, very long time that this was coming because we are both teachers. We are both special education teachers, and we knew what to look for before they were even tested. Also, my husband has ADHD, so we knew that this was a probability, which is also math, by the way. And we knew what to look for, and we have just held it off very long before they were just tested. They received the official diagnosis. So before we get into that, though, I need to really state this fact and make sure everybody is listening. Red food dye, artificial red food dye coloring, does not cause ADHD. That is a known fact. I don't know where that myth or that misinformation came from. There was something floating around for a while that if you consumed red food dye, you would then have ADHD. That is not true. What the chemical in red food coloring can do, though, is take all of the ADHD behaviors and trigger them to be more heightened. So more aggressive, more just unregulated emotional behavior, that kind of a thing. That is what red food dye does. It does not give you ADHD, but it can trigger behaviors in people with ADHD. All right. The third thing I want to preface is that we are not 100% artificial food dye free. We are about 95% free because my youngest does not have an allergy. It does not heighten their behaviors or anything like that. So what we do is my oldest cannot have any artificial food coloring at all. My youngest, if it is a special occasion like a friend's birthday party or a party at their school or something to that effect, they are allowed red food coloring or any artificial food coloring in very limited amounts. But for the most part, we are a 95% free house. Okay. So let's start with how my husband and I found out and got my eldest diagnosed with this allergy. So during COVID, we really tried to go out on very long walks as a family. And one of the things that kept our then 4-year-old and 2-year-old occupied while we were on this really long walk was keeping a tray of snacks in their wagon. We have a really cool, wonderful wagon that came with a tray that goes in the middle and you can put snacks and that kind of stuff in it. So to keep everybody kind of out of the house, but still doing things that we deemed safe as a family, we would go on 2 to 3 mile walks, which can be tricky to navigate with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So we would often put M&Ms in the middle and let them eat at those as we went on our walk. In the middle of all of this, we also decided to move to a house that was about a mile away. And this house was a new build. So we would go and just make it an evening activity to go and visit this new house, the house that we live in now, on a nightly basis to see what had changed, what hadn't, if they'd put in the sod yet, all this other stuff. And we moved in and we still kept up with these really long walks as a family because we didn't necessarily know all of our neighbors yet. You know, we were still in a time that we felt like having play dates and that kind of a thing wasn't exactly the safest thing to do. So one night we decided to take our big wagon and take the kids and go on a very long walk to kind of explore our new neighborhood. And we round the corner to go onto our street, and my eldest's behavior is becoming very erratic, very emotional, and very aggressive all at the same time. And we're trying to get them to calm down, talk through it, and nothing is working. And my husband looks over at me and says, if they could right now, they would punch me in the face because they were upset that my husband told them, no, not right now. Wait, we're almost home, that kind of a thing. And this behavior just continues and it escalates and it's escalating very quickly. So we get both of our children into our new house. Once again, we have only lived in this house probably 2 weeks at that point. Get them into the house. And this behavior then just escalates further because they didn't want to come in. They are pounding on our windows with everybody in our neighborhood outside because it was a beautiful day. My husband and I are freaking out. My youngest has started to hide in the walk-in pantry that we have. And then we finally get our oldest upstairs to their room. They have started to climb their dresser. We get them safely off. They try again. This fit, if we want to call it that, went on for about 40 minutes. I'm upset. My husband's upset. My youngest is upset. We don't know how to fix this. We don't know what's going on. My eldest finally comes out of it And it's like they couldn't remember anything that they had just done. They don't remember climbing up the dresser. They don't remember throwing this fit. They don't remember scaring their sibling, nothing. It's like it never happened in their mind. So we finally get everybody calmed down, put to bed, and my husband sits me down and he said, I've seen this before. My stepbrother used to do this after someone had given him something with red dye 40 in it. And I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense. I have never seen this before, but I trust that you know what you're talking about. And we made a decision that night that we were going to eliminate anything with red dye 40 in it, any food. So beloved M&Ms had to go. Skittles, Bomb Pops, you name it, anything with red food coloring. So we do that, and we notice that the behavior is better, but not entirely gone. And we kind of chalked it up for a while that maybe they were misbehaving because we had just moved to this new house. It was during COVID, so their preschool had gotten shut down. All this other stuff. Like we just kind of kept making excuses. Well, one day I decided to do some further research into, what can trigger this reaction out of a child. And it is there. The way that red food dye 40 is chemically made is not great. However, it's also the same chemical compound that is found in yellow 5 and yellow 6. So if you eliminate red 40, that's great, wonderful. But if you are also not eliminating yellow 5 and 6, you are going to get almost the same reactions if you have a sensitivity to red dye 40. Then we go down this rabbit hole of researching all of these different chemical compounds and different food dyes and what those different food dyes are linked to. And we found out that blue, number 1, and lake can be, not all the time, but can be linked to brain cancer. So it was from then on that we just decided we are an artificial food dye free, for the most part, household. So we eliminated anything and everything that had red food coloring, yellow food coloring, and these are all artificial food colors, by the way. Natural food colors are completely different, and I will get into places that you can find natural food colors readily available. But we were discovering that these artificial food dyes were found in a lot more than we had originally thought. So, for example, marshmallows. If you look at a package of just normal everyday marshmallows, you will see that marshmallows have blue food coloring in them. It's in the baking world, it is kind of well known that not everything doesn't always come up this brilliant white. So, to combat the yellowness in food coloring or in things that are supposed to be white, they will put drops of blue to make it white instead of yellow, to eliminate the yellow. It's just, if you look at the color wheel, that's how that works. I was shocked. I just kept questioning, like, why are we putting food coloring in this stuff? It doesn't need artificial food coloring. So we started eliminating everything that was food, and then we noticed that the behaviors were better, but not gone. And then we went on this other, we searched the house. I will kid you not, food coloring can be found in so many sneaky little places. Hand soap. There's food coloring in hand soap. Why? I just don't understand this. Something that is supposed to clean my hands or anybody's hands, my eldest hands, should not have food coloring. It's not needed. Okay, so that was kind of a shock to us. Toothpaste, we kind of understood. So eliminated toothpaste. We now are on a natural toothpaste We also had to look at our dish tabs because we were looking at the ingredients listed on dish tabs one day because we noticed that the behavior was kind of sneaking back. And lo and behold, it's because we were serving food, artificial food coloring free food, we thought, on dishes that had been washed with artificial food coloring. I was so frustrated at that point. I was like, what else can this be found in? Hair products. It can be found in hair gel. It can be found in shampoos and conditioners, floss, anything that is a bright color and could be consumed, has artificial food coloring. So if you are a family like we have had to become, please check all of those places. And if you know of any other sneaky places that artificial food coloring can be, let us know, because it was just a true eye opener, not only for my immediate family, but for my parents, because my children go to my parents' house quite often. And my mom had to eliminate the soaps that she likes because the hand soaps have food coloring in them. It just is really mind-boggling why this can be found in America in so many different things when in so many other countries, artificial food coloring is completely banned. It's not allowed. So I have heard, my husband was looking at some things that California has recently banned red food coloring, artificial red food coloring in food, and that Missouri may also ban artificial food coloring. I really hope that the United States can get on this bandwagon of eliminating this from our diet. It is not needed at all. And with us knowing more about the brain and chemical reactions, and, we know more about ADHD now, I just think just get rid of it. I don't need my strawberry donut to be red for me to know that it has strawberries in it. I don't need pumpkin donuts, which this was kind of an interesting fact. We went to a pumpkin festival and we got pumpkin donuts, and it didn't hit us until afterwards when my eldest behavior started to get more aggressive, more heightened, to check pumpkin donuts. Did you know that pumpkin donuts, to make them look more pumpkin-y, it's a pumpkin spice donut, by the way. Like, it wasn't anything super outrageously special. To make them look more pumpkin-y, they use red dye 40 and yellow 5 or 6 to get them a more orange color. And then when I realized it, I felt like I had failed as a mom, because it is my job, it is my husband's job to protect our children. And when we forget to check the labels, it's on us, it's not on my child. So here are some things that are tricky to kind of navigate, but I have fixes for these. So the big things that are tricky for us to navigate as a family are: one, we really taught my eldest to advocate for themselves. So they know to ask before they eat something for the ingredient list. And even if they can't read the ingredients, because Lord knows there are way more chemicals in food than just artificial food coloring, they know to ask an adult to check if that food has food coloring. Okay, so one thing was we wanted our eldest to be able to advocate for themselves, because we can't be around them 24/7. So that was one thing we really, really worked on with our eldest, was ask an adult. If you are uncertain, or if this food looks unsafe, then you need to go ask an adult to double check the food. The other tricky things to navigate are high candy holidays. So Halloween is very tricky for us. However, my eldest is now at an age that they know which candies are safe and which candies are not. So they know to take Hershey's, Reese's peanut butter cups, Kit Kats, anything with, that they know they like as well, they know they can take. Or our neighborhood, and I know that not all neighborhoods are good about this, but our neighborhood, especially this last Halloween, was really good about putting out alternatives to candy. So they would go up and get the little mini things of bubbles or the glow sticks or things like that, that they knew were not food, and they knew that they could take the little container of bubbles, and yes, it's not candy, but it was safe for them to have instead of candy. And they know that mom and dad will probably get them some candy at some point down the road. Valentine's Day is always, always tricky to navigate. Our eldest knows to collect all of their candy, and instead of eating the candy at school, they collect the candy and then send it home. And we end up swapping a lot of Valentine's Day candy, like candy hearts, suckers, those kinds of things. Christmas, and especially because our Catholic school celebrates St. Nicholas Day, is tricky only because of candy canes. However, there are several companies now that make all natural candy canes. And what I do is I send in candy canes for the school party, which then can also be used for St. Nicholas Day. So they know to use my candy canes that I have provided for my child and not just the generic candy canes. So those are real tricky things. Birthday parties can be tricky. What typically happens is I will pre-plan and send in a treat, or send a treat with my eldest to eat while everybody else is enjoying cake. Because if I don't know where or what food coloring has gone into the icing, I will not let my child eat it. So typically what will happen is I send in a treat for them to consume. And that is what I do for my eldest school, is I will send in birthday treats for them to keep at school for any type of birthday celebrations that go on during the school year. And I let the teacher know ahead of time, I will be providing these. If you have, and the other thing I do is I let the teacher know that if they have an activity, like last year they did graphs on Skittle colors and graphing, like they opened up a bag of Skittles and graphed, the reds and the purples to see which had more, whatever. I provide alternatives for the teacher because I don't want the teacher to go out and spend any extra money, especially because naturally dyed things, for whatever reason, tend to be more expensive than the artificial food color dyed things, which just hacks me off as well. But for my child's health, I am willing to pay the extra money. So if you have to navigate those things, just try to instill in your child to advocate for themselves first, and then create alternatives for them to take in. So now I'm going to tell you some places that I have found some really good alternatives that I shop at quite a bit, I frequent quite a bit, that really help in this whole tricky process of having a child with an allergen. So I first and foremost do most of my shopping at Aldi. This is not foolproof though, because most of the Aldi brand items are artificial food coloring free. They don't have any synthetic colors. However, if Aldi has a name brand, let's say my kids really like gummies. I hope my dentist isn't listening to this because he gets really upset when the kids eat gummies. Anyway, so if it's a name brand, I have to double check the label. If it's a name brand candy, I double check the label as well. So Aldi's, while it's the one I frequent most often, and if I pick up an Aldi brand item, I know almost for 100% certainty that it is safe. I always double check the label. I will say Aldi has cosmic brownies. It's a dupe. It's not really a cosmic brownie, but they are synthetic dye free that I do send in for birthday treats often. Aldi also has birthday cake mini muffins that are synthetic dye free that get sent in quite a bit as well. The other place I absolutely love shopping at, because everything in the store is available for my eldest to eat without having to think about it, is Trader Joe's. It's a drive to get to Trader Joe's, however, from where I live. However, I don't have to tell my child no in that store. So if there is a candy, like jelly beans, for instance, since we just had Easter, I can tell my child, yes, they can have that jelly bean, or yes, they can have that cookie that has pink coloring on it because it is all natural dyed. I love that. I love being able to take my eldest into a store and I don't have to worry about a thing there. I don't have to double check anything. I don't have to read 500 different labels, because let's be real, by the time I make it to the grocery store on the weekend, I am done. I am just, there's too many noises. I'm sensory overloaded and I don't want to have to be sensory overloaded checking a label. So thank you, Trader Joe's, for, and this is not sponsored, by the way, by Aldi or Trader Joe's. And yes, I know they are linked, but thank you, Trader Joe's, for allowing my child to be a child in a grocery store and allowing them to get the same kind of food that everybody else gets, because sometimes it is really hard when kids get baby bottle pops and I have to tell my they can't have that's not something that they can eat. The other place or the other tip that I have is anything that's labeled organic is synthetic dye free. So if you are like me and don't always want to read labels, sometimes if it just says organic on it and I'm in a hurry, I will pick that up instead. So there are also some other grocery store chains that only have organic or synthetic free. They're kind of expensive. And we don't have one. We don't have a Whole Foods near us. So I don't know what's available at Whole Foods. We do have a natural grocers that I will sometimes buy candy at. And we also have a Sprouts that I also pick up candy canes or candy at as well. That is where I get synthetic dye-free food coloring and sprinkles the most often. So those are some tips and tricks. That is how we became a dye-free family. This may be a second episode if people are willing to hear more tips and tricks and just how we navigate this on a daily basis. Let me know. Leave a comment if this really helped you and is beneficial for you to learn more about. I know that this was quick because I'm trying to condense everything into the 30-minute episode. So if you would like a second episode of just tips and tricks or what our daily life looks like navigating an allergen, or even just a child with ADHD that is also in a Catholic school, let me know and we can make that happen. Okay, because I want to get to odd one out before the thing gets to 30 minutes. Odd one out choices for last week were polka dots, plaid, or cheetah. Polka dots came in as the loser at 11%, and plaid and cheetah came in at tied for 44% each. I say plaid is the odd one out because it's the only one that is a stripe. That was what I thought the majority would pick. So plaid it is for me. This week, because we have spent a lot of time talking about red food dye, this week's odd one out choices are red velvet cake, which has a whole ton of red food dye in it. Bomb Pops, which Costco has the best synthetic free alternative to Bomb Pops. I love a good Bomb Pop though in the summertime. Ooh, love it. However, we now eat the dye-free kind. Or Twizzlers. And this is a real hit because I love Twizzlers. However, because we have been dye-free for 4 years is how long we've been dye-free, Twizzlers just taste funny to me now. They have a metallic aftertaste, which I've heard once you go dye-free is not unusual. Once again, your choices are red velvet cake, Bomb Pops, or Twizzlers. As always, if this podcast has blessed you in any way, shape, or form, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. Also, leave a comment if you would like to go into this topic a bit farther. And I look forward to talking with you next week.